Hey everybody. Um, 16 years since the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon and the big terrorist attack of 9/11. And I thought I'd share this with most of you. A few of my good friends and family know what happened to me on 9/11 and my wanting to be involved. And so on 9/11, I woke up and like everybody's seen the first plane hit and then the second plane. And before the first tower came down, I had a bag packed, construction boots, gloves, basic tools, in a backpack, and I was in my car on Route 17 from Binghamton, New York, heading down to volunteer, to be involved, and to see if I could lend a hand. And I just had to be there. I had to be close to it. And it was a long ride. It was a fast ride. I actually hooked in with two or three fire chief cars that were coming from some of the Route 17 cities, upstate New York, through the Catskills, and they were going about 80, 90 miles an hour. So I slipped in with them and kind of tailgated with them, and that sped it up. And we went over the Hudson River and came down to Broadway, Route 11, way up in Yonkers. And as I got down to Yonkers, because I separated from the fire chief vehicles, I realized you couldn't get into the city. So like they shut off all the taxis, all the subways, everything was shut off. And I went down as far as I could into as close to the city as I could through the Bronx and like Spanish Harlem area there. But then I realized, maybe I should leave my car up in a safer area. Knowing at that time, someone could steal my car. I wasn't thinking that everybody was like very solemn. But, I ended up going back up into Yonkers, and a retirement home was nice enough to let me park in their gated parking lot. And I met the board chairman that happened to be there that day, and he was really nice about that. So I ended up walking. I walked and walked and walked and walked all the way down to Manhattan, through New York City, right down Broadway, and I was way up 144th, 120th, 110, kept going. Couldn't try to get a taxi. Finally, I shared a taxi with two Asian students from NYU, which was really cool. So, and then I got all the way down to Canal Street, and I kept walking. Finally got down into Ground Zero. And I was just so taken by the candles that were all over the place. Right away. I mean, I got into the city about 6 p.m. So at leaving about 11 o'clock or so, 11:30, from the house and gassing up in Binghamton with all the traffic, and of course they had Manhattan closed off. By the time I got my actual self and my body down to the Ground Zero where the trade centers had collapsed, it was about 6 o'clock. Then they wouldn't let me in. They would only let like union workers in, steel workers, electrical people, EMS, first responders that were digging out the rubble and everything, trying to see if what survivors were survived. And I was a little bit upset about that. I kept asking them, let me come in and help. You need help. And they were very adamant. It was a security situation. They would not let Bob Nash in, myself. So, I was a little bit upset about that. And but I understood it. I respected it. So I went around and I tried to volunteer with the Red Cross. They had so many volunteers, they didn't need me. Handing out water. I handed out a little bit of water for an hour or two. But the thing was, everybody thought there was going to be a lot of survivors after the towers crashed from inside in the bottom, that were maybe down in the parking ramps and stuff, that were escaping. But it wasn't the case. There's very few survivors, as we know today. So I wanted to share that with you, and I also wanted to share this with you as well. Here we are at the Syracuse, New York State Fairgrounds, and I'm going to turn the video around. This is an incredible memorial here. Over here they have the armed forces, the Marines, the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Air Force. It's just beautiful over there. And this is the 9/11. This is the 9/11 memorial, and here is a piece of the World Trade Center, this is very close to my heart, because I wanted to go down there and feel and touch and help dig out some survivors, and they wouldn't let me get past the security line, the yellow tape. So here I can touch that piece of metal, you know, to be a part of it. And I come here often during the state fair, sometimes like today. So let me just show you real quick. Here's the Pentagon flight, and you know, that's the Flight 77 that hit the Pentagon. And then these are some of the different fire stations and unions and community action that were involved with the memorial and helping set up the memorial. And then the EMTs and the fire department of New York City. And here's at the time Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand were the ones that were very instrumental on helping put this at the state fair, this memorial. And it talks about here with the World Trade, it has all the names of people that were on Flight 11 and the 175 and rescue personnel, and as well as over here, like all the different names of all the people who passed away. So these are the people that were on the flights. And I believe they're also the names of a lot of the people too that were probably, here's the Pentagon flight. And there's probably quite a few of the people that were actually in the buildings as well on all these placards. And here's a picture of the skies. I'm sure the sun, after 16 years, is kind of lighting this up. And here's another picture of the Liberty when the towers were still standing before they were struck. And more of the names of the victims and the people that passed away. And for Flight 93 that went down in Pennsylvania as well. And let's come on over here to the memorial. This is this flame has been burning since it was the memorial was set up, which was just a few months after it was set up for the next state fair, but I believe it was set up within a few months or so after the actual attacks. And as you see, there's a lot of different memorials here. There's people's here. There's Corporal Kyle Schneider, and other stories and people's lives and other victims, and Edward Fergus and Donald Burns. And so these are people from New York City that came up, and they actually, Michael Seaman, you know, that was in World Trade Center 1, and Millie Hermonda, and some of the other fire departments, and some of the victims. So these people must have came up and put these things here. And I'm also going to, another day that everyone remember was the day that John F. Kennedy was shot. And I'm going to put this John F. Kennedy piece, $50, or excuse me, yeah, $50, yep. And I'm going to put this here. And I'm going to leave this right here as well in the memorial. And I'm going to leave my mark today with this beautiful coin, because John F. Kennedy was another very tragic moment that everybody remembers where they're at, if you're old enough to remember that. So, you know, I'm going to just slide this in somewhere where I think I can just put it where it would stay. And I wanted to share that with everybody with the memorial. So I'm going to lay this coin right down in the back here and push it right over in the corner. And there it is, right back there. So, you know, there's a little connection there with the John F. Kennedy and the victims of this tragic day 16 years ago. I just want to, like, give a moment of silence. And dear God and Jesus in heaven above, please help our world to come together in peace and unity and job creation, economics. Try to stop the wars, saving the little children and the babies and the elderly from incredible genocides that are happening even today, all due to differences of whether religion or politics